Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're doing something completely different because I'm going to do a full matte look. This is something I don't think I have ever done because I always liked a shimmery eyeshadow and later on shimmery highlighters and even later on shimmery bases, but we're going to give it a try today. I figured we'd do something of a smoky eye, make some very structured face shapes. If we can't put glitter on it, I can at least highlight using white and dark shades. So that's what I'm planning to do. But this is also a bit of an experiment for me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do like it, please consider subscribing to my channel. I try to upload 3 times a week with makeup related content. And let's get into the video. I zoomed you in a little bit and I'll put on my ears again. Haven't worn these in a while. Alright, so I think I'm going to start with my eyes. And I'm just going to start like usual with an eyeshadow primer because that's not something that's different. I'm using the Glam Light Icing Primer in the shade Classic Vanilla. Now I figured for a nice matte look I would need some dark shades and some lighter shades, but they do of course have to be matte. So I chose my Anastasia Soft Glam palette because there's a black, some dark browns, some sort of middle tone browns, and then there's this light whitish shade. So I figured we could probably use those. But first, before we get into the eyeshadow, I want to carve out my shape using an eye pencil. This is a black one by Essence. I think I'm going to do a bit of a thick wing, cover it with eyeshadow, and then put a lighter shade in the middle of my eye. Wait, I can zoom you in a little bit more. So because of my hooded eyes, I kind of have to do the little V's first. And then as you can see, as soon as I lift my head, there's this giant space left. But that's okay, that's why I do it this way. So I'm just going to start lining my lash line sort of from 2/3 from the outside. Of course, this is not dramatic enough. So I'm going to take it out just a little bit further. And I'm also going to do the outside of the lower lash line, because then I can connect the two, and now it's already looking a lot better. This is a little bit easier when you only have to use, when you don't have to hold your mirror, because then you can use both hands. I think that's it for the shape. Let's see if I can mimic it on the other side. Alright, this is what I've got so far. This one goes a little bit higher near the lash line and a little bit more straight. It looks very ugly now, but it'll come together. I think that's it for the... Oh wait, no, let me line my waterline and everything straight away. That's better. I did decide to pull in the eyeliner all the way to the inner corner. Now I'm taking a small smudger brush, and I'm sure most of this has already dried, but I am going to try to clean up the edges a little bit. Still worked, thank God. I think I'm just going to use the same brush because it's nice and precise and densely packed. And I'm going into the shade Noir, which is of course the black shade. And I'm just going to add that to most of the stuff that is already black. As you can see, it does make it a little bit more intense, which was my intention. In real life there is quite a big difference between the two eyes, but on camera it's not that intense. Alright, now that both the eyes are done, there is quite a big difference, I think, with what it used to look like. I do have to clean up right here a little bit. That's also a great reason to use the eyeshadow. Now I'm taking this flat shader brush and I'm just going straight into Tempera, which is this sort of eggshell shade. And let's see what happens when I put this right here. Tempera is sort of my skin tone, but a little bit more peachy. I do like this effect. Alright, so that did sort of blend down or blend the inner part of the eye, but I do want some sort of transition for the outside of the wing. And for that I'm going into Dusty Rose, which is this shade over here. That's not the one I usually use when I do this kind of look, but I kind of like it. I'm just putting it in between both shades. Yes, I think that looks pretty alright. I am going to take a bigger fluffy brush and I'm going into the shade Dusty Rose, lightly, tapping off the excess, and I'm just going to put this into my crease or a little bit above my crease. Maybe just a little bit more. I think that's better. Now I'm taking a small precision brush and I'm going into the shade Orange Soda, which is the orange one. And I'm going to put that in the inner part underneath the lower lash line. Just for a little pop of something. Yeah, I think that's kind of cute. What do we think about this eye look? I feel like it needs to be just a little bit more intense. So I'm going back with the first brush into the black. And I'm going to re-intensify the black on the wing. And then I'm cleaning off the brush a little bit on my hand and I'm going into Mulberry, which is this dark, I'm not sure what the color is, dark Bordeaux maybe. And I'm just going to bridge that rose shade with the black. Alright, I think that's nice. I think it'll come together when I put the rest of my makeup on. So now I'm taking my Essence Lash Princess mascara. And I think I will apply some false lashes for this look. But mascara also makes quite the difference. I'm taking a makeup wipe and oddly enough there isn't even that much fallout. But because I use some dark colors, I want to make absolutely sure that there's none left on my face. Alright, let me apply some false lashes. I have these smoky lashes from the Douglas brand. This is what they look like. Alright, let's see if this works. Alright, a full 5 minutes later and I do have some lashes on. I don't know if you can really see them, but they look nice. They are a little bit more straight before they go up so they match the eye look. It's quite a struggle to put on false lashes with tacky fingers, I must say. But I did succeed. Alright, now we're done with the eyes. Let's zoom you out and let's go into the face. I'll need to hurry this up a little bit because it's starting to get dark in a little bit. Alright, for primer I want to use my Tony Moly primer because this has a smoothing effect that will make my matte foundation go on easier, but it doesn't have any sparkle. My blurring primer by Yves Saint Laurent, which I usually use, has little sparkles in it, so I can't use it. But I feel like this one will work just fine. These are my most dry areas, so I always make sure to pack on the product right there. Oh, this smells so great. It's been a while since I used it. Then for foundation, I'm going into my Glam Haute Perfection, the matte foundation from the L'Essentiel foundation range. I'll pick that up in a little bit. I have mine in the shade 00N. I think I use about 2 pumps of this usually. I'm just going to take my brush, and this is a matte foundation. It's not like a terribly drying matte foundation, but it is definitely matte. This is actually probably my #1 foundation, especially for when it's not summer. And I see that the foundation on top of this primer does have a sort of blurring effect. That's pretty cool. It looks sort of cushiony, velvety, instead of the usual more powdery matte finish that it has. I must say the coverage is a little bit less high with this primer for some reason. But that's okay, I'm planning on using a lot of concealer today. So let's get into that. I picked out 3 concealers for this look. A skin toned one, a white one, and a bright one, but not white. I'm going to start with the just usual one and highlight and cover my face like I usually would. So I just apply some here, some on my nose, center of my forehead, cupid's bow, and chin. Just like I usually do. Maybe I used a little bit more underneath my eyes, but not extremely more. Then I'm taking the skin toned concealer, which I'm going to use to blend out at the sides. Because in my opinion, when you do a full matte look, you have to make sure there's lots of different gradients going on. So you have to make it super bright and going into super dark. So I'm just using this concealer to help transition everything. And with my Primark concealing brush, I'm going to start with the darker concealer. This is the Chanel one, by the way, and the lighter one was from Too Faced. So I'm starting on the outsides just to make sure that the coverage is as high as it can be in the center. So now I'm going to blend out the lighter parts. So I blended out most of it, but now I'm switching to this tiny concealer brush just to make sure I don't ruin anything of my eyeshadow. And I'm going back with my foundation brush to blend out the edges. And now this is already pretty bright, but I want to brighten it up just a little bit more. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this Makeup Revolution concealer. I'm just going to dab some on the center of my nose and underneath my eyes. I'm just going to let this sit for a little bit while I apply some contour. This is the Shadow Stick by ABH. I'm just putting some all around the contours of my face. Also a little bit around my nose. If you think I'm rushing, I am. I'm trying to get this done within 50 minutes because then the sun will probably go down. So now I'm blending out the white concealer, which worked pretty well. And I'm taking this other brush by Real Techniques to blend out the contour. And now I'm going back with my foundation brush again, just to make sure those edges are really nice and blended. And there we have my super sculpted face. Makes this cat look really appropriate all of the sudden. So now I need to set this down with a lot of powder, and my idea was to use a very brightening powder and then slowly transition into lighter and darker bronzers. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my Guerlain Meteorites powder, which is almost done, but I do have a little bit left. This is the brightest powder I own. So I'm going to use that to set right underneath my eyes, and everywhere I use the super bright concealer. Then I'm going into a skin toned powder, well, at least for me, with a little bit of a bigger brush. And I'm going to set the places I don't want to bronze, but I also don't want to highlight. So a little bit lower on my cheekbones, also sort of around the forehead and around my chin, just to make sure this look remains completely matte. Now I'm going to transition into bronzers. I'm going to start with my light bronzer by Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm just going to very largely bronze my cheeks. I'm really bronzing up quite a lot of area, just to make sure there's a little bit of shape left in my cheek. And then I'm switching to my NARS bronzer, which is quite a bit darker, but I am using the same brush and I'm going to use it a little bit more precisely. So I'm bronzing with this one just a little bit lower. This is almost a contour shade for me. Also putting this on the forehead, but a lot higher. As you can see, this bronzer is pretty dark, but it does help adding dimension. I'm also putting this underneath my chin and underneath the whole jawline. And finally I'm taking it around my nose. Now I'm going back with my powder brush to make sure there are no edges between all this. I mean, there is a lot of dimension, right? Even though we didn't use anything shiny. I'm just going to quickly fill in my brows a little bit with this eyebrow pencil from Clarins. And I think I am going to add just a little bit of blush, but really not too much. I have this Anastasia trio and I'm going into this shade. Oh wait, I see that has a... Oh no, that's the... Yeah. This one is alright. One of them has a little bit of a sparkle. And I'm just going to add a little bit right there, just to give it a little bit of life. Does take away a little bit of the sculpt, but I mean, I don't want to look dead. We're almost done. I think I'm going to make it before it gets really dark. I'm going to add a bold red lip, a matte one of course. So I'm first going into this red lip liner by Becca. And this lip liner has a little bit of a cool undertone. One could argue that it's actually pink. And then I'm going to add my Patsy Red from Charlotte Tilbury in the Hot Lips 2 collection, which is also a bit of a cool toned red. Alright, let me fix my lash. That's it for the finished look. I feel like for a fully matte look, it's alright. It's really not my style. I usually don't go this dramatic and I do like to add a little bit of shimmer. Actually, I think my face looks completely different. What do you think? I mean, it's very bright and very dark at the same time. But I don't think it's that bad. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you like this video again, please consider subscribing or leave a like, and I will see you in the next one.